lesson, we're going to be looking at order of operations. And order of operations is very important when we're solving math problems because it helps to make sure that everyone is going to end up with the same answer because we're all solving the problem in the same order. So the first thing we need to think about and remember with order of operations is what is that order that we're going to solve everything in. And you may have learned the PEMDAS, or please excuse my dear Aunt Sally method, to remember what all of those are. So I'm just going to write it over here on the side so we have it so that we can remember it. So we have PEMDAS. The P, remember, stands for parentheses. That is the very first thing that we're going to look for and solve is anything inside of parentheses. Next, we're going to be doing exponents. So anything to the second power or third power, things like that, that's an exponent. Then we're going to be multiplying and dividing from left to right. We don't always start with multiplying. It's just whatever comes first on the left. And then our last step will be adding and subtracting. Again, we don't always start with adding. It's just whatever comes first to the left. So we're going to look at this first problem over here. And first we're looking for the parentheses. Are there any parentheses in this problem? No, there are not. So we're going to move on to the next step, which was E, the exponents. Are there any exponents in this problem? And you can see that there are no exponents in this problem. So we're going to move on to M and D, multiplying and dividing from left to right. In this problem, I can see that there's dividing and multiplying, but remember we're always working from left to right. So I'm going to start with this part of the problem. So what I do is I always underline the part of the problem that I'm working with, so I know what part I'm going to be getting rid of and what parts I'm going to have to rewrite. So 10 divided by 5 is 2. And we haven't worked with any of the rest of the problem, so I'm going to rewrite everything else. This is going to help keep all of our information nice and organized. I'm not going to try to do more than one step at a time because it's just going to get everything all messed up. So nice and neat and organized. So now I'm going to go back to my list. And remember, we're up to multiplying and dividing. And if I look through my problem, I can see that we still have some multiplying. So we need to do that part next. So I'm going to underline that part. That's what I'm working with. 3 times 15 is 45. And now I will rewrite the rest of my problem so I can see what I have left to work with. So now I have 13 plus 2 minus 45. And our last step is we're going to look at adding and subtracting from left to right. So I have a little bit of adding, a little bit of subtracting. We're going to be working from left to right. So 13 plus 2, I know that that's going to give us 15. And I'm going to rewrite the rest of the problem. Now I can see that I only have one step left, so I'm going to finish that last step. 15 minus 45. Can't really do that, so we're really going to end up with a negative number, and that's going to end up with negative 30. And that would be my answer. Now, as you can see, as we're moving down our problem, it's like we're making an upside-down triangle. That's what your problem should look like. It's nice and neat, one step at a time, so if someone else were to go through the problem, they would be able to see exactly what you did. So try to keep your work nice and organized, one step at a time. Let's try one more problem just to make sure we have this idea of order of operations down. Again, I'm going to write our steps down over here on the side just to help us remember what those steps are to help us solve this problem. Remember the P stands for parentheses. The E stands for exponents. M and D is like multiplying and dividing. And the A and S is adding and subtracting. These last two pieces always are working from left to right. So as I'm looking through this problem, first we're going to solve parentheses. Are there any parentheses in this problem? Yes, there are. So that's where we're going to start, with what's inside of the parentheses. So we have 36 minus 4, which will give us 32. Some people ask, well, how do I know if I'm done with parentheses? When you have just a number and there's no other operation symbols, that's when you know you're done with the parentheses. If there was another operation there, like plus 6, then I would still keep those parentheses because there's another step. But because I'm just left with a number, I can get rid of my parentheses and just rewrite the rest of my problem. So that would be divided by 8 plus 7 squared. So now I'm going to come back to my list. We did parentheses. There's no more left. Next step is looking at exponents, anything to the second, the third power, things like that, and I can see see right here, there is that step. So that's our next part. I'll underline that. 7 squared, which is like saying 7 times 7, is 49. And now I'm going to rewrite the rest of my problem so that I can see what is left. And moving on to my next step, multiplying and dividing from left to right. Here I can see that we're dividing. 32 divided by 8 will give us 4. So here I have 4, rewriting the rest of my problem. And now I can see that I only have one operation left. So I'm going to solve that last part. 4 plus 49 will give us 53. And that will be my final answer. And you can see my upside down triangle here, keeping my work nice, neat, and organized. I underlined each step as I went down so someone else would be able to come back and see my work. So just remember, when you're using order of operations, you're following PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Looking for parentheses first, then exponents, then multiplying and dividing from left to right, and ending with adding and subtracting from left to right.